Good evening and welcome to lesson 2-4 on variables and equations. Tonight's lesson has two main objectives. First, you will be able to classify types of equations. And we have three types of equations that we're going to look at tonight. And you will also be able to check equations using substitution. All right, in tonight's warm-up, you need to write a variable expression for each phrase. And this was back from lesson 1-1 as well. So I'll help you out with number 1, then I'm going to leave you to do 2, 3, and 4 to come back and check. So these have the key words. So the sum of x and 46, well, the sum tells me that I am going to add, all right? And I am going to add x and 46. There we go. That would be my answer for number 1, x plus 46. Now go ahead, pause the video, and do 2, 3, and 4. Go ahead and do that now. All right, if I underline the keyword for number 2, that would be less than, which means to subtract. Now again, I have to be careful. It's saying 4 less than g. So really, on this one, you should write g minus 4, because they're taking 4 less than g. So g minus 4. Number 2, we have decreased by, which again tells me to subtract. And we have t being decreased by 5. So t minus 5 on that one. The number 4, the quotient, which tells me to divide. And then again, when they just do the quotient, whatever they give you first comes first. Z and 26. So z divided by 26. All right, let's look at tonight's lesson. And tonight we're first going to identify an equation. An equation is a mathematical sentence with an equal sign. So we talked about expressions before where there were no equal signs. But now with an equation there is. 3 plus 2 equals 5. That has an equal sign. So first we have an activity, and it says put the non-equations in the recycle bin. So find ones that are not equations and throw them in the recycling bin. All right, so for example, I could do this 3x plus 1. I know that's not an equation because it doesn't have an equal sign. Go ahead and basically X out the other ones because I don't think you can put them in a recycle bin. Go ahead and do that now. All right, and I count that there are 3 more that we should get rid of. The first one is 3 divided by 3. The next one is 4 times a times b minus 1. And the third one is 8 times 1. Again, none of them had equal signs, so they were not equations. However, these 4 are 9 plus 2 is 11, x plus 7 is 21, 6 plus 12 is 18, and 7 times 2 is 14. All of those are equations. Now, we can have an open sentence. An open sentence is an equation with 1 or more variables. So, I have 3 examples below. Circle the equation that shows an open sentence. What one of these has 1 or more variables? That's the one that's considered an open sentence. All right, so if you were to do this, and I hope you had a chance to do it, you'll see the only one with variables is this middle one. 6 times b minus 2 times a is the same as 10. The reason they call it an open equation is because you can put different things in for these variables, and you can have different answers. So really, it's open. I could say, well, b is 0. Then I'd have 6 times 0, well, minus 2 times a equals 10. And then if you solve that, you'd end up actually with negative 5. All right, so you could get 0, negative 5, and so on. But there are different equations or different numbers you can put into this. You could say b is 1. And well, if b is 1, then what is a? You could say b was 2, and then find out what a is, and so on. So this middle one, again, was an open sentence. The other 2 types are true and false. All right, these are ones without variables, but they really mean what they say. A true equation is one where that equation is true. Like, for example, 2 plus 3 is 5. That's true, so that's considered a true equation. A false one would be 3 times 1 is 31. That is false because 3 times 1 isn't 31. It's actually 30. So, state whether each equation is true, false, or an open sentence. Then explain. So what I want you to do basically is take a look at A, B, and C, and then decide, are they true? Is it a true sentence? Is it false? Or if it has that variable, write that it's an open sentence. Go ahead and do these 3 problems now. All right, well for A, I see 3 times the difference. B minus 8 is the same as 12. Well, this variable B in here tells me that it's open. Why? Because it has B. It has a variable, so it's open. Then we have B, 7 minus a negative 6 is 1. Well, let's find out. This one we have a subtracting integers, so you add the opposite. 7 plus the opposite of, well, negative 6 is 6. Well, 7 plus 6 is 13. That is not the same, so this would be false. And again, this work I did is proof enough. And again, another way to prove it, boys and girls, is if you have 2 minus signs in a row, remember it just turns into a plus. All right? Then we have C. Negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4. Well, here we're adding integers, so you take the 2 numbers, because they have opposite signs, and subtract them. Well, 9 minus 5 is 4. Well, 9 is a bigger number, and 9 is negative, so it's actually a negative 4. Well, that is true, so that is a true equation. There we go. Moving on. Now, example 2, now they want us to write these out. Write an equation for 6 times a number added to the number is the opposite of 42. Then say whether this equation is true, false, or an open sentence. Sometimes it does help to actually write it out in words first. 6 times a number added to the number is the opposite of, well, 42. All right, there we go. So what I want to do is, again, find those key terms that tell me what I'm doing. Here, times. I know I'm going to be multiplying. All right? So 6 times a number added to the number is the opposite of 42. All right. So 6 times a number added to the number is the opposite of 42. All right, so we first have 6 times a number. Well, we don't know what that number is, so I'm just going to call it 6 times y, or 6y. All right, added to the number. So we're adding to that number. Again, we don't know what that number is, so you'd actually write y is the opposite of 42. So what number is opposite of 42? Well, that would be negative 42. So if you take a look at this one, we have 6y plus y is negative 42. And we need to decide, is that true? Is that a false or an open sentence? And again, those variables give it away. It would be considered an open sentence. Because again, it has a variable, so it has the y in there. So that's what you do for that problem. All right, and then we're going to move on to the solution of an equation. And basically, this is just a value that you can put in for a variable that makes an equation true. So they're going to give you an equation, and they say, hey, put this number in. If it's true, then it is a solution. If it's not true, then it's not a solution. So for number 3 here, is 45 a solution of the equation 120 plus x is 75? Well, what we do here is, well, let's find out. Can I put 45 in here for x and get 75? All right, so I just threw 45 in for x. And I'm going to add together now. 120 plus 45 is 165. Yeah, 165 is not equal to 75. So that is not true. So that is not a solution. And really, you should write that. Instead of not true, I'm going to write not a solution. All right. So that's what you get for number 3 here. And again, we can try with different things. If I said 3 plus c is 12, well, let's see. I could say 3 plus, what gives me 12? Well, 9. So 9 would be considered a solution. But any other number wouldn't, because nothing else really gives you that. All right, so here we have this one. And again, we're using that idea, except now they give us a word problem of it. A gift pack must hold 20 pounds of food. Apples weigh 9 pounds and cheese weighs 5 pounds. Can the jar of jam that completes the package weigh 7 pounds? Well, let's find out. All right, we know that together in this gift pack, we're going to have apples, cheese, and jam. And all together, that's in the gift pack, which must weigh exactly 20 pounds. All right, so let's write in what each one weighs, and then you decide, will it work? Apples weigh 9 pounds, cheese weighs 5 pounds, and, well, you want to know what the jam has to weigh. So I'm going to stop here, and I want you to go through this. Find out, will this weigh exactly 20 pounds? If so, yes, the jam can weigh 20 pounds, or 7 pounds. If it doesn't work out, then you write no. Go ahead and solve this problem now. All right, they want to know in this problem if the jam can weigh 7 pounds. So I'm going to replace J with 7. All right, and I'm going to add it up. 9 plus 5 is 14. Well, plus 7 is 21. Well, 21 pounds is not the same as 20, so no, the jam cannot weigh 20 pounds. Or, excuse me, weigh 7 pounds. All right, instead, really, if I wanted it to weigh 20 pounds, it actually has to weigh 6 pounds itself. That would make me get to 20, excuse me. All right, now we're at the end of the lesson, and there are 4 things to check your understanding. And again, I do encourage you to do these because it always helps. Now, number 1, is B plus 3B minus 1 equal to 50 true, false, or an open sentence? Okay, go ahead and answer that now. And if you take a look, it's those B's that tell you, so keep that in mind. Number 2, write the equation, get written there, and then decide is it true, false, or open. Decide if 25 can be a solution for number 3, and then look at number 4. Go ahead and solve all of those now, and then when you're done, check your answers. Go ahead and pause me. All right, let's check them. Number 1 is open, because it has those B's. For number 2, you should have a number, so I'm going to use n, added to 7 times that number is the opposite of 32. So that'd be negative 32. So n plus 7 times n is equal to negative 32. And again, those n's in there tell me it is open, because they don't tell us what the numbers are. Number 3 is 25 a solution. Well, let me put it in. 175 minus 25. Well, that's 150. Well, that's what it's supposed to equal. So yes. And number 4, can you stack 8 books that are 3 inches thick inside an 18-inch tall box? Well, I know there are going to be 8 books, and they each are going to be so many inches tall, and they say 3. So 8 times 3 equals 24. No, they cannot, because it can only be 18 inches tall. So no. All right, so those were your 4 answers. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Do not forget to write your summary, by the way, and have a good night.